Welcome into the Inside Bassmaster Podcast. 2026 is here, and I'm joined by Kyle, Jesse. Like always, I'm Ronnie Moore. And Kyle, it's been a little while since we've had the podcast. We took a break. You became a father. We had the off season. We had to finish up the opens. All the other trails finished up to solidify classic bursts and Elite Series rosters. And now we're kicking it off. We're in January, and we are just a few days away from the open season starting. Meanwhile, we've already had the high school and college series kicking off. And before we know it, in a week or two, the Elite Series will start at Guntersville. And so, no better time to kick the podcast back off and get back in the tournament mode than mid-January, where all the magic's starting to happen. So, Kyle, how have you been? It's been good to see you, but I know you came to Little Rock a couple weeks ago. It was good to share a meal and hang out. But how have you been?
Been good. Yeah, obviously, like you said, been a busy end of 2025. Of course, having our little boy Kellen at the end of September, right on time for like right in between the first and second EQ tournaments, which was interesting. But yeah, like you said, of course, it seemed like the season went a little deeper into 2025 with the EQs, and then starting back quickly here in January with, the juniors and high school tournament, the college tournament, the Open on Kissimmee Chain, then the college going to Okeechobee. Full January, and then obviously starting the Elite Series back earlier than normal as well. So, going to be a fun start to the year. Already been a fun start to the year, but so far so good.
Yeah, and like we talked about, the Kissimmee chain and is back. We hadn't been to the Kissimmee chain in a while, but looking at our tournament schedule on Bassmaster.com, where if you don't sort them by tournament trail and you just look, it's Kissimmee chain, Kissimmee chain, Kissimmee chain, Okeechobee, Kissimmee chain, Guntersville, Kissimmee chain, and that is through the high school, junior, college opens and kayak series, all gracing Kissimmee chain in about a 5 week span. Great fishing in the state of Florida this time of the year, so a great spot to kick off. One thing that's unique though this season, which is so funny, and I'm not trying to get any sort of way, but like we are always starting the Elite Series season in Florida, and we're always occupying an event or two in the Elite Series season mid-season in Texas. Neither of those states are on the Elite Series schedule this year, and everyone's like, "Where's Florida and where's Texas?" Well, every other tournament trail with Bass is getting their taste of the Sunshine and the Lone Star states, and so it's good to see the Elite Series starting somewhere different. And so let's go through for those who maybe are truly taking a break or were under a rock that don't know our tournament schedule for the season. Let's go through the opens real quick. Same type of situation as we had last year. In previous seasons, we've had the opens be three divisions with a few events in each division. We've had it be one full EQ division, all 9 events you have to fish. Then last year we made the switch and it was two divisions, 4 events in each division. You make the top 50 in points, you advance to the EQs. We won't even talk about the EQs yet. All we know, all we'll let you know is there's 3 events in those EQs, and you qualify to get there, various routes to get there as well, to make up a competitive field to try to make the Elite Series. So when we're looking at the opens field in general, 2 different divisions, Kyle, and within those divisions, we start out in January at the Kissimmee Chain, late January. Then we'll go mid to late February at Sam Rayburn. Now, if you're fishing all 8 events, this is truly a national trail for you. But if you're just fishing one division, it will be more regionally, not like it used to be. It still will go up the East Coast or it'll still go up the Midwest, but generally it stays in a similar region. So Kissimmee Chain late January, we have Rayburn mid to late February. Lake Eufaula, Alabama will be the first event that we start at after the Classic, first week of April. Then you've got the next to last week of April, which is Grand Lake in Oklahoma. You've got Lake Norman that following week, so back to back weeks there. Last week of April, first week of May is Lake Norman in North Carolina. You've got Kentucky Lake mid May. We should be able to see Kentucky Lake back to the offshore type of fishing and get a view of that. Last year we were at Kentucky Lake much closer to the spawn, so fishing was a lot shallower, a lot different. But that'll be mid-May. Then we end our season in each division at the Upper Mississippi River, La Crosse, Wisconsin. And instead of that being like the Elite Series time of year where it's in that August time period, this is mid-June. Now we have had a mid-June Mississippi River event a few years ago, and I believe that was the Ish Monroe year that he won. I think maybe. Um, and then we went to Oahe right after, or vice versa. Um, and so this will be a different look at the Mississippi River than we were used to in that August time period. And then we end the other division at Lake Erie in Buffalo, New York, mid to late August. And so we've got the Kissimmee Chain, Rayburn, Eufaula, Alabama, Grand Lake, Lake Norman, Kentucky Lake, Upper Mississippi, and Lake Erie for the open schedule. Not too shabby. I think we'll have live for most of those. There is one event in each division that won't have live. But Kyle, they just basically tell us, you go to this lake, cover the tournament, and you stay in studio. You're live this day. So we'll figure out all the other details when we get to them.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing worth mentioning, obviously we know that the Elite Series schedule went to a coin flip to decide which events had forward-facing sonar and which ones did not. The Opens being that's the catalyst that's going to drive you to qualify for the Elite Series outside of the nation berth. They've made the decision to also split those in half rather than being a coin flip. It's going to be two non-forward-facing sonar events and two forward-facing sonar events in each division. Just to go over that, it'd be Kissimmee Chain of Lakes, no forward-facing sonar, Lake Eufaula, forward-facing sonar, Lake Norman, no forward-facing sonar, and then Lake Erie, forward-facing sonar. And that was just based on a one-off, one-on kind of
Yes.
situation rather than
Yeah.
trying to make it.
Alternate.
Correct, correct. So, and then Division Two, Sam Rayburn will be forward-facing sonar. Grand Lake will not be forward-facing sonar. Uh, Kentucky Lake will have forward-facing sonar, and Upper Mississippi River will not. And I just said forward-facing sonar more times in one sitting than I care to, but also, like I said, just worth mentioning that will transition into the Open Series this year, and I'm not exactly sure how that'll work on the EQs. I know
Well,
there's
the
been some
EQs will be a
conversation.
coin flip. They'll
Yeah,
Hank
so
Weldon was saying that two of the three will be one or the other. Two of the three will either be non-forward facing or forward facing. They will do a coin flip. Basically, for the first two, you flip a coin, and so it's split 1-1. And then the last coin flip will determine if the last EQ event is forward facing or not. So we could have no forward facing, forward facing, forward facing. We could have forward facing, no forward facing, forward facing, or we could have forward facing, no forward facing, no forward facing. So, however that goes, but two of the three will be one of the varieties. So, that's the opens for the year. New changes there as well. Thank you to everybody who supported the opens over the years. We have a new title sponsor and presenting sponsor for the opens. It is now. I gotta get warmed up for this for this coming week for the open at the Kissimmee Chain. But it is the Turtle Box Bassmaster Opens here at the Kissimmee Chain presented by Battery Tender. So Turtle Box and Battery Tender jumping in as the title and presenting sponsors of the Opens. And super cool to have diverse sponsors like that. We always talk about non-endemics. We always talk about different kind of endemics that necessarily haven't gotten the seat at the table to play ball. And we're seeing that now through some of those partnerships. So excited about that. And yeah, that's the opens for the season. I just got the roster. Some big names fishing the opens once again. Some new names from the college series. Man, we've got, like I said, with some shows that we've done in the offseason with Tommy, the opens is truly the best of the next generation. And it's the next generation of elite anglers, not just generation by age wise, but the next generation of elite anglers is now the best of the best college series, the best of the best non-elite guys that have fished the opens for a long time, the best of the best pros who are no longer fishing at top level that want to still seek to do that and aren't ready to retire yet. It's just murderer's row of that. Now you take that through 4 events in each division, you get it down to the top 50 or so, and it's just even stronger as you get to the EQs. So that's the opens for 2026. Looking forward to covering those in studio with guest anglers. This first one's going to be tricky. I do not know who my guest is yet. I do have to make a request to Mike McInnes. He may approve, he may deny, and then we'll maybe get a guest solidified prior to the first ones. But we also have the Elite Series schedule that's been out, and like we talked about, that is a somewhat alternating forward facing, non forward facing, just by way of coin flip. You've got the first two paired together, Gunnersville and Martin, and it was one's going to be, one's not going to be. Same thing for Tennessee Tom Bigby Waterway and Arkansas River. Then you've got Murray and Santee Cooper. You have Pasquotank, Champlain, and then you have St. Lawrence. And so I think it worked out to be four elites without forward facing sonar, five elites with forward facing sonar, plus the classic unchanged from last year based on qualification of everyone to advance to the classic. They're fishing under the same rules as it was prior. So uh, I'm liking that we start in Alabama. We really haven't fished Gunnersville all too. We fished Gunnersville a bunch, but we really haven't fished Gunnersville a bunch this time of the year. The only
Sure.
time of the year we've ever fished Gunnersville is for the Classic, and that is 2014 was February, 2020 was more first week of March. But all the Elite Series events we've had there are those summer, early post spawn, summertime ledge fishing tournaments. We had the one in the fall as well, and so this is really the first winter slash spring Gunnersville event that we've had or will have. That's not a classic. So starting the year at Gunnersville should be fun, and then going to Lake Martin. Those two in Alabama. Kyle, tell me what your thoughts are quickly. We're gonna have a full podcast dedicated to previewing Gunnersville and Martin over the next couple weeks. But starting at Gunnersville and Martin, we're all kind of waiting. Which Florida events they're going to choose? Maybe we start in Texas this year. Every one of those guesses was wrong. It's Alabama.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I mean, I think that I think I speak on the behalf of most fans in the sense that doing something different schedule-wise is always a good thing. I was looking back, obviously the first time we've started the Elite Series season in Alabama since 2018, and between 2018 and present day, the amount of times we've started in Florida, and obviously, St. Johns River being the majority of those starting locations, it's a great starting location. I love the St. Johns River, but doing something different. Alabama, obviously significantly further north, than we've started in recent years, will make it, challenging in some ways because we know what the weather looks like between now and then. It's definitely some very, very cold temperatures. Obviously I haven't looked extended enough to see what it'll be like during the tournament, but I know like when the guys are starting practice, it's going to be cold. It's going to be very, very cold, which it seems like this year, maybe more than most years, maybe I'm just looking into that more than I should. Seems like we've had a ton of guys pre-practice here. I spent some time up at Gunnersville, this winter, and seemed like I would see all sorts of pros boats at the ramp, guys spending time out there trying to find, as much as possible for the first non-forward facing sonar event of the year. But, Gunnersville specifically, I mean, one of the most famed storied fisheries in the entire country. The amount of, just crazy, ridiculous weights that have been, thrown out at Gunnersville over the last year or two have been just insane, especially like pre-spawn, colder, wintertime fishing. But a lot of that has come from forward-facing sonar, obviously catching those suspended fish with a minnow, whatever it may be. But it'll be interesting to see this tournament being a non-forward facing sonar event because, we obviously know the grass will play to some degree. The offshore roadbeds, things of that nature. Obviously, we've seen so much success been had on, the causeways and the bridges and things like that. It's such a diverse fishery for this time of year because I think you can really pick any of those different, avenues and have success at any of them. It'll be interesting again to see what the weather does for those fish that are in the grass. Of course, there's grass that's deep enough to still house fish when it's cold. But obviously, if we can get a warm few days, it's not going to hurt that by it, I wouldn't think.
Because we're
But
certainly going to get a few cold days, and that's what like we were talking about. There was just a professional event at Gunnersville, and water temps were cold. Water's very clear. They haven't had a lot of flow through Gunnersville, this winter. And one thing unique about Gunnersville. Like it doesn't hold water in the system. Like, oh, it does in theory, but it's not going to ever get high. Like that, it's because there's so many docks on that lake, and it's the most dock filled lake on the Tennessee River. It only can get so high, so it holds water all year. It's never really low, but it doesn't have an excess of water where Pickwick and Kentucky Lake can flood and hold a lot of water. Gunnersville is close to max, and then they just keep it flowing through. So normally, what's coming through and it's high or near full pool, what's coming through is getting sent out immediately. But they get that flow. There hasn't been a ton of flow, but some of those lakes above that are lower and the banks are exposed with this snow and the rain and the winter storm that's hitting over the last few days. We'll see how it affects the water color, maybe the flow rate, water temperature as well. But it could be a cold one. It could be definitely on the short list of coldest water temps to start an Elite Series season or coldest water temps faced in an Elite Series season. I know we didn't start our year at Cherokee, or we started our year at Cherokee in 2017, and then we went
17.
to Okeechobee back to back, vastly different. And then one year we were in Florida, and we were going to go to Chickamauga for the second event, but with all the ice and storms and stuff, that was postponed and moved. I think that was 2020. It was postponed and moved, and then all of a sudden everything was postponed and moved.
Everything was postponed and moved. Yeah.
And then everything was. I think we had one elite, the classic, and then everything just reclassified.
The
Um,
classic ended, and so did the world there for a little bit.
yeah, no, literally like last flights home. So it'll be an interesting thing there. We know Lake Martin at least one time previously. It started our Elite Series season in 2018. That was cold water as well. But for the most part, when it's Florida and Texas, it's not nearly as cold as it is elsewhere. With this huge storm hitting the country, we'll see how Gunnersville changes. But starting our season, Gunnersville and Lake Martin, um, on in the state of Alabama, on the Tennessee River and the Tallapoosa River. Then we go Tennessee Tom Bigby. That's after the Classic. That's late March, mid-April at the Arkansas River. You've got two stops in May back to back at Murray and Santee. I do like that. We seem to always be at Murray in that mid-April to mid-May time period, but never back-to-back years the same. So I like that. Normally we're at Santee more in April. Getting it mid-May, it'll be different. The Pascatank River is a mid-June event. The first time we ever saw it was last year, and that was in April. Awesome fishing, but
I'm
also cooler, colder water temps, more drastic weather changes, and it made anglers fish a lot slower and kind of, I guess, this huge body of water fished a little smaller, or it could lend itself to doing that. With it being mid-June, more of a summertime vibe, it could all those places we got a taste of could really factor a lot more, and this place could actually show its size in
well,
that
and
mid June.
I will speak on that as well because being there on site for that tournament, the amount of obviously the crowds there were amazing. Just so many fired up fishing fans were there, but the amount of people that I talked to that said, "Oh, if you guys would just come back like end of May, June, like it would be insane." Because the amount of like frog fishing,
Yeah,
buzzbait, top
top
water,
water,
flipping, like
whatever, moving
swim
baits.
jig, you name it. Like the traditional like shallow water power fishing, warmer water type baits would play, and it would be an absolute slugfest. So the fact that we're gonna get to see that the next year after going there last year for Kyle Welcher's unbelievable performance. I don't even know how else to describe what he did there at the Pascatank, but
Never been done
yeah, that
before.
one
Yeah,
that one should be a lot of fun.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. My informant Matt Greshik,
The man.
yeah, literally hit every single bullet point on the head that happened, and so we'll have to see what predictions he makes this year. Look forward to seeing him at the Classic. He should be there as well. Then we got Champlain and St. Lawrence. A little different though, with the split schedule technology wise. No forward facing for Gunnersville, for uh, Tennessee Tom Bigby, for
Santee.
Santee, and then for
Yep.
Champlain. So Gunnersville, Tennessee Tom Bigby, Santee, and Champlain, no forward facing, and the rest, yes. So Kyle, With that being said, we did something in written form
And
that
that's what
should
we're
be
going to do.
on.
It's like a magic moment.
Hey, that's Tommy Sanders. He's right over there too. I just heard him. I guess that's the website.
Our most memorable. And we'll talk about that. And then we're going to talk.
You good? I could hear that so loud, so it's just.
I bet you could. My bad. Sorry,
No,
as a
you're good. You're
player on
good
the
on the website. Yeah. Uh.
just start that thought
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Yeah.
How we did something different this year.
So Kyle, we just talked about the schedule, and we've done something. We did something last year that got some eyeballs, and that was just predicting the best finish of each of our rookies slash 2025 class fishing the Elite Series, new to the Elites that year, whether they were a rookie or not, which encompasses the Opens qualifiers and the Nation representative. We're doing the same thing for 2026, so it's actually one additional person because the Opens are accepting 10 instead of 9. So we have 11 anglers that we predicted. It was you, myself, and Chris Decker in written form. That's on the website. Check out the article there as well. We've got the full explanations, couple sentence blurbs for each guy. But let's just do that for the viewers at home. Let's talk about where we thought, and if we agree, cool. If we don't agree, maybe give a little reasoning why you think that angler is going to thrive there. So let's go in terms of I wrote my story out in terms of EQ points race finishes, first to 10th, and then Nick Trim, the nation representative, as the last angler. So Fisher Anaya, the Gunnersville kid, did you pick him for Gunnersville or not?
I did. So, I think that he's going to be an absolute stud this year. I think that you know, he's going to be right up there with the Tucker Smiths of last year, Trey McKinney of the year before. Like what he's done in the opens and just a very, very special young talent. I think he's going to make a big statement this year, as a lot of people are predicting. But I definitely got him doing well at Lake Gunnersville. And to your point, this is all kind of a fantasy fishing play too. I mean, drain the lake. You're trying to pick these rookies. Maybe if you didn't keep up with the opens, you don't have quite as good of an idea of where they might fit into your schedule. But Gunnersville is definitely, to your point, the easy play for Fisher Anaya. I mean, obviously lives up there, has spent a lot of time fishing there with, G-Man. Obviously, they've got a close relationship. And I think he's going to start the season with a splash. I wasn't alone in that assessment. Christopher Decker also went with Lake Gunnersville, but something tells me that you went elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean that was the first word of my thing was Gunnersville, and then I followed up with is the easy answer to put for him. But I think that there's so much pressure at times to go into an event like that with the weather swings we're going to be having leading into that event. It might not be the ideal place to start. You don't want your I don't know, you'd want it for the memories and stuff. It'd be very cool the routine, but you wouldn't want your first major league start to be game one of the season in your hometown, right? Like you're pitching for the Texas Rangers and they're playing the Wichita Whippersnappers, right? And you're pitching in front of your home people game one of the season. Holy cow, let me get a game under let me get an inning under my belt somewhere else before I have to come and have the pressure of hometown pressure and big league pressure. And so he's getting big league pressure and home field pressure at the same time. I got him for Lake Martin. I think that, and
So
remember, this isn't that he's going to finish bad. It's that we're trying to predict their highest finish of the
that's okay.
season. So
Yep.
he could get 20th. He could get 27th. He could get 15th. But do we think that's going to be his highest finish? Who knows? I think that Lake Martin the next week, it's going to be like, okay, whether he misses the cut or not at Gunnersville or he makes a cut, it's going to be like, okay, we shake the dust off. I now know what I'm doing, and now we're going to go into this is my thought process. Knows a ton about Gunnersville, a lot of pressure there though, Kyle. Then we turn around and we get forward-facing sonar in our pocket at Lake Martin. Um, a place that he's probably fished before as well through other Alabama trails and things like that.
Won a
And
team
then
tournament
you
down
get
there.
the
I didn't even.
opportunity to thrive and maybe get a top 10 there. Like I wouldn't be surprised people would be like at the end of the Martin event, they'll be like, well, where was this last week? That's what we'll say. Well, where was this last week when everyone picked you for fantasy? It's just I don't doubt him, but boy, it's just a tough task to start your Elite Series career on your home lake given the conditions.
I think he and Lucas Lindsay won a team tournament down there. I might be wrong on mixing up the names of who it was, but Hank Weldon and I were actually talking about it as I was writing this story. I was picking his brain of, just his thoughts on it. I didn't listen. I just picked whoever I wanted. But um, he had made a comment that Fisher and I'm pretty sure it's Lucas Lindsay won a tournament on Lake Martin not long ago. So not like he's completely unfamiliar about it. I like the pick, but essentially, all I heard in your giant explanation is that you don't think he can handle the pressure, and I hope he proves you wrong.
Okay. Uh, so now we go to Russ Lane. And like I said, fantasy is going to be so interesting for anglers this year because a lot of our Elite Series fans that pick fantasy just do it off the most recent tangible data, either for that angler or that fishery. Russ Lane's got a long career with the Bassmasters, and we haven't gone to the Tom Bigby River too much. And I know a lot of people are going to pick him for the Tom Bigby because he got second or got a top 10. He was second going into the final day there. Um, but boys, like, it's not like it's his first year and he's ultra confident there and nowhere else. And so I
Sure,
preface
but
that in mind as well.
you could make the exact opposite argument though that he's already 5 days or 6 days or how many ever days totally spent out there last year
Ahead of the
ahead of
game,
the rest of
for
the field.
sure.
So that's the mindset. As your dog in the Tom Bigby
Did
pick,
you pick him for Tom Bigby?
absolutely.
Okay, I picked him for the Arkansas River.
Yeah,
So
you're already ahead. But also, okay, when you justify the Arkansas River pick, it's based on the same information that you're going to pick him for, or if you were going to pick him for the Tom Bigby. It just fits his style. And
stylistically, but no preconceived notions. You know what I'm saying?
well,
If he
he
didn't
might not.
lock it, if he didn't lock it Tom Bigby the last year, the urge to not lock is going to be there. But Elite Series guys pressure places a lot better than opens guy, and so that's what I just yeah.
I think Russ Lane's smart enough to know that if he needs to punt and do something different than he did the year before, the knowledge that he might have gained through practice would put him one step ahead of, dude,
I don't mind the thought.
we
I
can
don't
play this
mind
game
it.
all day long.
I'm just
I'm
saying
telling you, he's going
when
to
he
do well.
beats the Tom Bigby finish with the Arkansas River, I'll
Fine.
just say,
Well,
what did Decker pick her for?
also Tom Bigby because he is smart and made
Yeah,
a
yeah.
a reasonable decision. And
Just spoken like a true reporter, just taking very little facts just to try to make an argument. I got it. Okay, so we've got you two are matchy, and I'm different in the first two. Aaron Jagdfeld, where you got him?
I got him Lake Murray, and this is one that all three of us not disagreed, but didn't have the same answers.
Cool.
Lake Murray, obviously, have enjoyed covering Aaron through the college series, as many of the new rookies this year. But one of his best finishes in college was a third place finish at Lake Murray, um, place he's going to be familiar with. I think the fact that that tournament features forward-facing sonar and the style of that lake, which should, allow guys to do that, whether you're chasing herring spawn, whatever it is, there will be fish off the bank at Murray that time of year, regardless what they're doing. And I do think that will, settle in well for a lot of the younger guys that are obviously really good with their electronics, but it's a combination of, his ability to use forward-facing sonar in addition to the fact that he's obviously fished there and had success. So I'm going Lake Murray went a little bit out of the box there.
Yeah, I love that pick. Where did Decker pick him?
Decker has him at the St. Lawrence River.
Okay.
Smallmouth.
I have him at Lake Champlain. You guys both picked him for forward facing events. And what's funny is I didn't know your predictions. Like I'm still asking questions because I still don't know them fully. Um, but I literally put in my synopsis. Many will list the best finish for these younger rookies at the events that allow forward-facing sonar. Martin, Arkansas River, Murray, Pasquotank, St. Lawrence. But with Jagfeld, I feel confident that what he knows about smallmouth and Lake Champlain will translate even without the magic box up front. I think that we will see Champlain. Um, you can pick the Gussies and the Fighters and the Schmitz and I'm trying to think of some
Pollen.
other the Pollinics at Champlain this year a little bit more because of their smallmouth prowess and not their technological skill. Like, like you have the other guys who are really good with electronics, just saying like Robert G, Trey McKinney, Kyoyo Fujita, those guys are on the short list when technology is available. But
And it's
remember,
not to say those guys aren't capable otherwise, it's just they're
no,
very, very good with
but
it.
it was what we saw when we started going up north with forward facing, that the traditionally good smallmouth anglers weren't in the top 10 like their pristine track record had shown. Like it was harder for them to do that style of smallmouth fishing without the electronics versus the electronics. And so without it, I think that it's going to lend itself to northern anglers and their expertise of smallmouth being putting them ahead of the game. Even though we've been to Champlain so much, it's still different with a portion of your equipment not available. And so I think Jagfeld, being a great smallmouth angler, being at Champlain a few times, seeing the lake most recently with the EQs, that was where I picked him. So um, glad we were all three different there. For Austin Cranford, I've got him um, at the Pascatank River. And it kind of lended itself to the schedule. I said June, you're probably able to run around a little bit more freely and catch them other places. They're going to be biting a lot of different types of things. You don't have to spend a bunch of time trying to get them to bite. They should be biting. And so I think Cranford is one who's going to make some risks, make some runs, and with that, I think he'll find success away from the takeoff location and be one of those guys. And I think this will be his breakout event. I called him
Chris,
crazy. I called him crazy enough in my synopsis. So I think that fits Cranford. He's crazy enough.
Uh, Christopher and I both went with smallmouth events. He went with Lake Champlain, and I went with St. Lawrence River. His track record through the opens, fishing up north for smallmouth, is really solid. And that's pretty much, where Decker and I kept um, our picks. But, a lot of these guys, like I made the point about Cranford, like, throughout his career in the opens, he's had success. I mean, he's fished them for several years now. Like he's had success pretty much across the board. It's not like you can just pinpoint one singular style of fishing or one singular style of lake or body of water that he's done well at. I mean, he's done well at a variety of different styles. So it's hard to predict, but looking at the numbers with, him and smallmouth, seems like Decker went with Champlain and I went with St. Lawrence River.
Yeah, I really thought like a Santee Cooper might be solid, but he didn't have a great finish in the Open a few years ago there. But I know that Open was just tricky. And so I didn't want to pick him for Santee for that. But now he'll have two cypress tree heavy fisheries kind of under his belt before getting to the Pascatank with another shot at Santee. And so I think that he'll be better equipped for that. Sam Hangy, where do you got Sam Hangy going?
We all three differ on this one as well. I got Lake Martin for Sam Hangy. Um, More than anything, it's just his time spent at Auburn. I think that, I know all those Auburn guys they fish across the entire state, so it's not like they're not familiar, with Guntersville and other places that we go. But I'm going to say Lake Martin being the closest in proximity to Auburn, his time there, I think that will serve him well. And regardless of his finish at Guntersville, whether it's good, I think he keeps momentum rolling at Martin, or if it's bad, I think he feels some comfort, going back to, his old stomping grounds, despite being, a Tennessee kid, spending his time at Auburn fishing for the Tigers. I think that Martin sets up well for him. And Decker had Lake Champlain. Uh, basically stating that he has a solid track record with
Yeah.
northern part of the country, which is absolutely
I think he
true.
got top five
Um,
there in that EQ event, I think.
yeah, yeah. So definitely makes sense. But again, one of those guys that through his college career and then, obviously through the opens has had success kind of across the board as style of fisheries are concerned. So be interesting to see.
Naturally, fishing the college series, the Tennessee River gets put on a college series every season. So you fish for 4 or 5 years, you get plenty of shots on goal and learning the Tennessee River. The kid's already from Knoxville and that portion of the Tennessee River. I've got him starting strong at Guntersville. I think him, and surprisingly, like you think that that Fisher and I should be the AOI leader or rookie of the year leader after the first event. But we always get surprised in the first event. Some rookie who snuck in,
Sure.
shows up. I think Sam Hangy and Brock Rinkenmeyer will be the two highest anglers in Rookie of the Year after Gunnersville. I've got them both slotted as Gunnersville being their best events. I think that they start strong. Like I said, I put in my thing. Do you pick him on the lake that's closest to his alma mater? So I was on the same train of thought as you with Martin. Or do you pick where he grew up and has fished quite a bit with Tennessee River experience? So I picked Gunnersville, starting the season off with a bang, leading. If I had to make a pick, Hangy or Rinkenmeyer, I think Hangy could be your Rookie of the Year points leader after the first event. Now let's go to Matt Messer, um, who's had variety of success in different states across the map, but none of those states show up on our schedule this year. Specifically Florida. He's got a couple victories in Florida. Florida's not here. So where did you pick him? And did any of us match, or do you and Decker match?
None of us matched on Matt Messer. And I will say, Christopher Decker, I will speak for him on this. His prediction to me last night, we were just talking just in general. His prediction to me is that Matt is going to win an Elite Series tournament this year. Uh,
Ooh,
so that's a little insider information. I don't mind. I don't think he would mind me sharing, but very high on Matt Messer. I've got him at Santee Cooper, and Decker has him at Pasquotank River. So Santee Cooper is just more of a style thing. I think that he is very old school in a lot of ways. Like I covered him through the college series. Like he and his brother are both like very, very good shallow water power fishermen. The 2024 Open, Matt did really well at Santee Cooper, so there's got to be some similarities, familiarities, I guess is really what I meant to say. Seventh place finish there in 2024. I just think it suits his style just to fish visible cover, do a lot of things that he's comfortable doing. Obviously, no forward facing in that event, so can't use it anyways. So and then Decker went with the Pasquotank, basically stating that um, he's multifaceted, but a good buzzbait, frogging, flipping bite is something I think the 2024 Classic qualifier will relish. So kind of the same train of thought, just different bodies of water, which you can do this year a lot on the schedule because there's
for
so
sure.
many good shallow water,
Four of them, really. I mean, you
yeah, I
could you
wouldn't
could
even
do
say
Pasquotank, Santee, and then both rivers with Arkansas River and
sure,
Tom Bigby, which is where I
sure.
picked him. I picked him for the Tom Bigby. Um, a little bit of experience there through the Opens last year, and stylistically, and
Yeah.
and I think that time of year wise, he'll still be able to frog, flip, sight fish if it's clear enough in places. Main drag, main river fish as well. So yeah, the kid from Kentucky who wins in Florida doesn't have either of those states on the schedule, and we've picked him for three different places, so wide open there.
If
Caleb
we were going
Hudson,
to the Harris
go
chain,
ahead.
he'd be for sure a lot.
99%,
I got
99%.
I got to watch him on the water. Me and Logan Crumley, the massive, massive stringer that he caught in day two of the college series there
And my
back
dad. Come on now.
two. Yeah, and your dad, yeah, Ron, who bailed on us this year, but we'll forgive him for that. But no, just an incredible track record in Florida. But on to Caleb Hudson. There's not a whole lot to say here because we all agree on our picks with
Oh, we
Caleb.
put, we all put him at Murray.
Everybody has him at Murray. I think that's kind of, I would say the lowest hanging fruit just based on, his proximity in the country where he spent time in
Yeah.
college. Certainly familiar with those blueback herring style lakes. So Lake Murray on paper certainly seems to be the obvious choice, but I'll let you fend for yourself on that one if you'd like.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think that he grew up in Lincolnton, Georgia. If you're around Clarks Hill, you're around Murray, Hartwell, any of those places, Lanier, you're going to learn about blueback herring, and it's going to give you lessons that you can't learn in any other state, watching
Sure.
any video. It can maybe shorten the learning curve, but fishing there and knowing that type of fishing just gets you ahead of the eight ball. And so I think Caleb will feel right at home. And I like that it's not the start of the season. Like you don't want the best arrow in your quiver to be the first event of the season. Having it mid-season, I think, is helpful. So I've got him at Murray as well. Let's try to burn through these last couple before we move on to the final segment of our podcast. We got four anglers left. Tristan McCormick. Um, I think that other than the Tennessee River, and specifically Pickwick and Kentucky Lake, I think, man, he is such a stud up there at the St. Lawrence River, and that's why I've picked him there. Got second in a college championship up there a long time ago, and just seems to gravitate, love that style of fishing. Electronics wise, very up to snuff, and I think that he will be very excited to end the season there. And I think that he could make a push to try to win Rookie of the Year by having a chance to win that event or get a top 10 for sure. So McCormick, I'm saving his best for last for this season.
Yeah, same here. I went with St. Lawrence River. I was at that college championship that you were talking about, got to watch him on the water. And the thing that stood out, number one, is how comfortable he felt then. That's been several years ago, and how much time he spent up there since. He's fished every Toyota series, every Open, I'm pretty sure every tournament that's been held on the St. Lawrence River seemingly since then, and has such a solid track record really across the board in the state of New York. So for me, that was a pretty easy one, although I think that, he could come out of the gates at Guntersville as well, being a Tennessee River guy. Christopher Decker went Lake Murray, obviously has had success in South Carolina, went on Hartwell in an Open. So definitely a strong pick there as well. But we'll move on to Pake South. Where are you going with Pake South, Ronnie?
I can't stop remembering this like that, or I can't forget it. I can't stop remembering it, or I just can't forget it. One of the two. But I put in quotes, I wish I was on the elites for this tournament, was what Pake South said on the halftime show at Lake Fork in 2025. And so, well, here's your wish. Your wish is granted. You are now on the Elite Series. You don't have Lake Fork on your schedule or any other lakes in Texas. But I think that that big bass mindset and mentality, the boldness of that, I put him at swinging on some big ones at Santee Cooper. No forward facing in that event, but we saw him at Okeechobee punch his ticket to the Elite Series through the EQs, basically dobbing around on that final day, trying to make it work. And so for Pake South, I think that no Texas on the schedule for a Texan, difficult, but South Carolina's Santee Cooper will provide plenty of big bass and big baits, big line, however you want to do it for his appetite. But when you say things on a Bassmaster microphone, people don't forget them. So Pake, you better bring it. You maybe just were hyped up from Fork, but anytime you say, man, I wish I was on the Elite Series this season, you better bring it when you do get the chance, and you are now on the Elite Series, big fella.
Yeah, Pake's a great kid. We had a great time with him, but I'm going same general train of thought. I just feel like guys that spend their time on Lake Fork or just in general, like spend a lot of time on big bass factories. I mean, there might not be one better than Lake Fork, but it seems like they excel in other bodies of water that just have big ones. And if the Pasquotank River showed us anything last year, it's that it has big ones. They were all in Kyle Welcher's live well, but they are back in the water now. So I'm going Pasquotank River. Um, I think, that event being a forward-facing sonar event, I don't know. I mean, he's super good without it. He's just a natural fisherman, but I do think he is very, very good with it. And, obviously having learned so much of it at Fork, that time of the year at the Pasquotank River might not play as well as maybe we saw it with Welcher and some of the guys that made the top 10 in 2025. But, just having it as a backup plan, and, just his natural fishing ability on a body of water that has big ones. I'm going Pasquotank River just to be a little different on that one. But
I want to see how many trash fish species, and I say trash fish being non-largemouth at the Pascatank, show up on people's graphs. Warmer water temperatures, different seasonal time. You're not just staring at the base of a tree. And so interested to see uh, how the electronics factor and how much distortion maybe anglers have with other species on there. But where did Decker pick him?
Decker also had him for Santee Cooper, stating a lot of the same reasons that you have. Big fish, makes sense.
I already picked for Brock Rinkenmeyer. I already told you Gunnersville. I think he's going to start off well. I think he's a pretty good cold water fisherman living in the Missouri region where Truman, Lake of the Ozarks, Stockton are all home lakes. Um, wait,
You picked
I
Lake
picked
Martin.
him. I
Are
picked
we
him for
doing
Martin. I
are we
didn't pick him
doing
for
this again
Gunnersville.
where are we doing this again where you're just literally going rogue on this article and
No,
you're
no.
whatever you
I
want
I
and change?
just I'm
What are we doing?
reading my thing now, and I knew he'd start the season strong. Um, Oh, no, that's what it was. I'm sorry, I messed up. It wasn't Rinkenmeyer. It was Nick Trim that's going to do well at Gunnersville. So I did pick two for Gunnersville, but it was just the wrong two. I got Rinkenmeyer. So Fisher and I and Brock Rinkenmeyer are going to have their best finish of the season at Lake Martin, second event of the year, cold water. I think that Brock, whether he likes to fish shallow, and that's his style, old school, however you want to call it, I think that fishing in that area of Missouri, you have to be well versed in electronics as well. And I think but also the dock fishing aspect of Lake Martin could come into play for him as well. So my bad, missed it by a week. I got Brock Rinkenmeyer, Lake Martin, not Gunnersville. Sorry, just calm down.
We all across the board with Brock went with Lake Martin.
Really?
Basically
Okay.
across the board, talking about the exact same thing you did. When you're talking about a guy from the Ozarks region, Lake Martin certainly has plenty of similarities. Every time I pass over Lake Martin on 280, I've not fished there, but once or twice, but every time you cross over it on Highway 280, going towards Auburn or going down to Florida or wherever, every visual part of the lake that you get to see looks just like an Ozark Lake, and we've seen that obviously play out in the Open there a couple of years ago. Different time of the year, of course, but certainly plenty of similarities to an Ozark Lake. I think that'll suit him well, and know how to catch those bigger largemouth maybe that will propel you there, because a lot of times on the White River lakes it's the same way. You can catch a lot of largemouth spots and smallmouth, but catching those bigger largemouth is what's going to propel you. And we saw that, of course, with Talk, a few years ago, and I think that's going to play big again. And I think Brock's going to feel right at home there.
Awesome. And our last guy, Nick Trim, I already said it, Gunnersville for me, mostly because a lot of Wisconsin and Minnesota anglers tend to do well on the Tennessee River, and Gunnersville really gives them the best of both worlds. Cold water fishing, it is still a river, but it is a lake, and different attributes at Gunnersville makes it fish well for those upper Midwest guys. And so I think that Nick Trim starts the year strong at Gunnersville.
I like it. Christopher Decker and I did not agree with you there. I went with the Tin Tom, and Christopher went with the Arkansas River. Both of which reasoning pretty simple. He's clearly a very, very good river fisherman. We saw that at the Mississippi River, dominant performance there to win the nation championship. That should translate well to both of the river style tournaments that we have earlier in the season. Christopher, Arkansas River, me, Tin Tom. I think you could just flip a coin on that, but basically just his river fishing prowess is what's going to propel him to do well at both those places.
Yeah, his Bassmaster track record on the website is all over the place. I mean, you've got some of the worst in the opens finishes he's had, and then all of a sudden, he's got multiple victories though on his home fishery, and so he's got the recipe to be a stalwart, but the inconsistency to like it could take some time to get your footing, and so I do think he starts off on the right foot though at Gunnersville. All right, Kyle. Last segment of the podcast today. Change gears a little bit. We're going to go from the Opens and Elite Series talk into the world of kayak fishing. Something big, something growing, something new. And we've got two of the best representatives of the kayak series joining us to talk about what's new for the kayak series for 2026 and what's new content wise for anglers who call themselves diehard kayak fishermen. Well, Kyle, we said it. We had a final segment to this podcast that's a little bit different. We got two extra guests, so four guys on the podcast right now, and we're talking kayak fishing, something new to the sport of fishing on the Bassmaster side the last couple years, something growing, something big, and with that growth, we start finding out a lot of unique things about it, also stars of the sport, and we've got one of the best tournament directors we could ever ask for and one of the best kayak anglers we could ask for to join us to kick off 2026 with the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is as you said, such a big deal and has gained so much steam and so much traction. And we've had podcasts in the past where you and I a few times a year would talk to some of the winners, and we made the decision this year that we need to have a kayak podcast, something dedicated mostly to kayak, and who better to have do it than these two guys, fellas? How we doing? How we feeling about the season this year?
Oh man, I feel good. I feel good. I don't know how I feel about this ice storm that's about to hit just about the entire country, but aside from that, I'm getting really excited.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be able to avoid the weather. I'm on Lake Seminole right now for our Georgia Bass Nation Kayak Series. We're doing a partner event with Florida Bass Nation this weekend. So I got the reprieve from the wife to stay safe down here. So, our 2026 season started actually in December on the Bass Nation side of things, but the Bassmaster, like Guillermo said, is getting ready to kick off in Kissimmee for the second year in a row, and I'm pretty excited about it as well. So it seems like in fishing we never have a down season, and so ready to hit the throttle and speed up a little bit.
Steve, give us a little rundown of who you are, your history with the sport of kayak fishing, and then what you do now with Bassmaster the last few years to help take it to the next level.
I'm Steve Owens. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Grew up on Lake Nickajack, pan fishing. Got into kayak fishing 2012-ish, 2013-ish. Started a grassroots club with some friends back home, and moved into the KBF series, managing some of those events on Chickamauga and Guntersville, and then that grew into Dwayne Wally when he was able to get with Bassmaster and start the kayak series. He asked me to come in and help do the infrastructure for it, and I ran the first Bassmaster Open event, which was on Logan Martin with a good friend Daniel Davis helped me there, and ran the kayak series with some other people across the country for a year, and had to step away for a little bit. Just didn't have enough time off work to play fishing, part time enough. And then Lord opened the doors through the support of a lot of anglers, a lot of people in the industry, especially the people at Bassmaster, namely Chris Bowes, stepping up and putting the faith into us to rebuild, rebrand, so to speak. And what is this, the fourth season now? I do this full time for a living, and I don't know. We'll just keep going and take it as far as we can. But we really appreciate, the support from the sponsors that we've had the last few years have really stepped up. And I think that's, a telltale sign of the anglers trusting in all of us at Bassmaster to put on the events with integrity. We've got a good payout structure. We do a really good job marketing the anglers. You're not going to find a bigger stage, than the Shield to have behind you as an angler, and they're really, really soaking that in and being really appreciative of it, and then putting that forward on social media, which we all know we need those numbers to survive in anything, and the anglers do a really good job of that. So,
Guillermo, do the same thing for us. Introduce yourself to those who don't know you. We were cutting up just before we had you guys on about some things, but one of the best track records in the kayak series, and really, honestly, probably has a great community because of who you are. You've created a great community around you to represent the sport.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, guys. So my name's Guillermo. You're wondering where the name comes from. I was actually born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I grew up mostly in South Florida. Been fishing my entire life. It's about all I've ever been decent at. I couldn't do any sports with a ball, but man, if you gave me a fishing rod, I was just all over it. But anyways, I did a little bit of collegiate fishing in college, and
Where
it
at?
was really
And what years?
at TCU. At TCU, that would have been years '09 through 2013.
Wow.
But anyways, did a little bit of that, and then actually it was after that that I really got into kayak fishing. I entered my very first tournament here in North Texas, which I've been here in North Texas for a little while now, and I actually won my very first one, and it just got the juice rolling for me, and ever since then, I've really fallen in love with it, and almost kind of just decided that I love to kayak fish, and I've loved boat fishing in the past. I still do boat tournaments with some of my buddies from time to time, but I've just come to really love kayak fishing, and particularly kayak tournament fishing. I'm very blessed to have the opportunity, or we are very blessed as kayak anglers to have a tournament director like Steve Owens, and we've had many great ones in the past, and that's a little bit about who I am. I'm just excited to get this year rolling.
Well, we teased it right off the rip, but this year you guys are both going to be hosting the Scope podcast, which I think that'll just saying that word, of course, will get people fired up already. So we're already halfway there, but Obviously it's going to be a kayak centric podcast. You guys are going to talk about other things as well, of course, but a lot of kayak coverage in there. You guys have been fantastic to work with this to this point because typically when we assign something or get something rolling like this, it just ends up being dragon feed or this, that, and the other. You guys have already got an episode ready. We've already shot the first episode. That'll be coming out shortly. Bassmaster.com, Bassmaster's YouTube, the Bassmaster channel on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find it anywhere that you can find any of the other Bassmaster podcasts. But guys, tell us a little bit more about that, kind of your plans, your hopes, and what we have in stock there.
Yeah, I'll start out on just the basics of it, and then let Guillermo explain the intricacies of it because he's a sharp guy and he come up with a scope pretty much right off the rip. But we've been doing this for a little while. We've all been on podcasts. We all enjoy all the podcasts that you guys put on. We're excited to be on Kyle and Ronnie's show here, Ronnie and Kyle show. It's pretty great.
It's Kyle and Ronnie's show. You got it right the first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I'm kidding.
We get to see you guys. My wife was like, "Oh, I remember you talking about Ronnie and this, that, and the other." So, what is that? I said, "He's basically like the sportscaster, for the World Series. He's the guy that's in the front and everything." And she was,
The one that they throw tomatoes at and boo.
and so, we know there's a space out there, and with Bassmaster putting in so much with resources and support behind the kayak series. There's a market for us. There's a lot of really good and successful kayak angler podcasts out there. And so we were like, man, we need to do something. It's our job to help promote and hype and spread the word and grow the sport. And so, let's just see how we do at it. And so, I've been looking at this for a couple of years, emailing you guys, talking to you guys, picking your brains. And, again, the Lord just opened the right door to where Guillermo could be a part of it. Because, Guillermo, a very, very humble man, but he's super sharp, super smart. And he's just somebody that every interview I listen to, I'm like, I want this to keep going. I want to hear more from Guillermo, and so reached out to him, and he was able, with the flexibility of his lifestyle and profession, to be able to do it. And so we got with James and everybody, as you know, and then we come up with the scope. And so I'll let Guillermo explain. I guess our mission statement is brought to you by Guillermo Gonzalez.
No pressure.
Well, I guess to get into the intricacies of it, I just really wanted a public platform by which to pick on our tournament director, Steve-O. That was really important to me. No, but besides that, we, of course, this is going to be kind of a kayak centric podcast, but beyond that, it's going to be a fishing podcast. And I wanted to get a little deeper into some of the some different aspects of the sport, like, for example, some of the more mental aspects of the sport, conservation. One of the things I'm really excited for, getting to work with Steve Owens is talking about kind of the tournament director side. You hear all the time about anglers and it's like you win some, you lose some when you're picking venues and stuff. But it'd be cool to be able to talk about why do we go where we go? What is it that drives traffic one place or another? Just all kinds of topics that revolve around our little bubble that is fishing, and more specifically kayak bass fishing. So I mean, I think there's no shortage of topics that we can explore. The reason why I chose the name The Scope, because even though the scope is a kind of hot button topic in the industry right now, I figured that would at least get people to remember the name. But if you look up the word scope in the dictionary, it really just defines it as something that encompasses everything that encompasses a certain subject, so to speak. I could look it up right now and give you a much better definition, but I think y'all get the idea. So that's kind of more or less where we're going with the Scope podcast.
I also heard that, you in the off season got engaged to the best kayak angler in the world, Guillermo, and she also has a podcast. So you were like, I've got to go and now I have to pump out more episodes than she does. It's now a competition. That's what I heard, though.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a competition. It's always a competition with her. But yeah, I'm very blessed. I appreciate it, guys. Definitely. I've had a lot of big fishing accomplishments in my life, but this is definitely the biggest accomplishment of my life, no doubt.
Well, let's take a look at the kayak schedule a little bit. I know that's, we don't want to spend too much time on it because I know that's something you guys have covered a little bit in the opening podcast that'll be dropping here soon. But taking a look at the season, obviously Florida, Tennessee, Louisiana, South Carolina, all the way out to California. I mean, it is a diverse schedule this year, all over the map, and that's one of the beauties about kayak angling is, obviously travel makes it a little bit easier. So we get it seems like, you guys can speak to this more than I could, but it seems like we get a big contingent of anglers that travel to really all the tournaments. So kind of give us a little bit of a rundown of the season and the schedule and, some of the places you guys are excited for.
Yeah, so I'll let Guillermo talk on the angler side, but for me, just to quick get it out, we're going back to Kissimmee for the second year in a row to start the season. Last year we had, almost 230 anglers in that tournament. Really grateful for Kissimmee Sports to be the host there. Kind of a no-brainer. Everybody, I know we've got the college tournament going on right down the road here this week as well. So, Florida, South Georgia, Texas, those areas are historically where you want to start out, even though we got ice storms all over the world these days. And then, keeping in tradition of the Bassmaster, the Kayak Series Championship will be on Lake Chickamauga and Nickajack Lake at the 1st of March in conjunction with the Bassmaster Classic. And then, so anglers will fish Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday for the last year, we'll be on the Bassmaster Classic stage to award the top 10 and the champion. And then on Saturday, we're actually going to be in the expo. Guillermo and I will go on I forget the name of it, the big stage in the expo. So we get an
Yeah.
hour on stage up there. We're going to bring up the top 10 and let them dive into a deeper, recap of their championship. And Chattanooga tourism is a brand new one that I was able to tap into this year through some good connections in the state of Tennessee. So we look forward to working with them. And then the anglers will hit the road again in April. We're going to Caddo Vistano, a little different. People love to go to Caddo Vistano in the fall, but we're going early spring on this one. And by Visit Shreveport, Bossier Sport Commission. Really, really, really great people to work with down there. And it's kind of unique. There's a lot of places that we can go and host tournaments that they may not be able to have a bass boat tournament per se. And so then we're going to fall back in May to Santee Cooper, hosted by Clarendon County in South Carolina. For what hopefully is a slugfest of just giant bass on Santee Cooper. You all know Santee Cooper is either great or it sucks. So I mean, we're just you just flip a coin and hope you get it. So then scheduling right after that event, the very next week we're going to Clear Lake, California. And before anglers start, they ask about that, and the reason being there were two dates on the calendar we could get permits for in California, and that was Father's Day weekend or the weekend that we're having it right after Santee Cooper. And so that West Coast event is for those people. We need to service that area out there. It's a very, very a great hotbed for kayak fishing. I know there's a lot of saltwater stuff out there, but the anglers out there are just otherworldly in what they can do with certain baits. It's almost like a Japan vibe out there. And so we want to make certain that we can help them have a platform. So that event is basically kind of a crapshoot for them to be able to qualify for the Bassmaster Championship. And I'm not really thinking of the people that live over here on the East Coast like us. This event is for them because they're probably not going to be able to make three to make it from the AOI pool. So this is for them. We're working with Kendall Jackson Wines. They're a big supporter of the NBA, WNBA. And so had an angler ran into a guy at a tackle shop out there, and he's the main one of the main guys at the winery there, and so they made it all happen. And then when we're done there, I had an angler say, "You really don't want me to fish this because you're on 3 alligator lakes and 2 rivers," and he doesn't like either of them. So when we're done in California, we're going back to Susquehanna in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, hosted by Montoursville up there. As you all know, or maybe some of you don't know, Susquehanna is one of the best fisheries in the nation, and Guillermo will attest to that. I mean, the last tournament we were there, On Tourney X, we had over 2,000 scoreable fish uploaded in 2 days. It was around 2,400, I believe. And that tournament average, including skunks, was almost a 17 and a half inch fish. So you take that into account, there were a ton of 19, 20-inch smallmouth caught on the Susquehanna River. And then when we're done there, we're going to travel over to Appleton, Wisconsin, to the Wolf and Fox River system. And as Guillermo had told a few anglers that had asked questions about it, it's got a little bit of a lake vibe to some of it, a little bit of slack water, so you're not just on moving water nonstop. So it's a diverse fishery. It's also loaded with really, really nice smallmouth. And so that'll close our season out there. And something new for us this year is, we obviously have the championship in March. We made the decision to move away from the Classic so that we could have our own standalone kayak series championship. The Classic is what it is. It's for the elites. It's the biggest show in the country, and that's what it should be. And we've been blessed to be a part of it, to get the series off the ground. We got a lot of really good exposure for the anglers. It's everybody's dream to hold up a big blue trophy on the stage. And while, kind of sad to see that go to an extent, I really feel like this is the best move for us, because when we do that in October, the 2026 championship, we'll be able to have, the full power of Bassmaster's marketing resources behind us, instead of you guys jumping through hoops to do your job for the Classic and us, trying to work with you guys. I know how hard you all work. I mean, I didn't know really when we first got into this. I'd text Ronnie some things or whatever during the tournament, and I got to look and I was like, whoa, this guy, I mean, he's on the show live and everything. So I
Steve,
started
we're
leaving him
live.
alone.
Stop blowing me up. We're live.
I know, and I was like, "Whoa, man!" Because I didn't grow up bass fishing. I wanted to be a shortstop for the Yankees or whatever. It just was built like a catcher, a softball catcher. So anyway, I'll wrap this up. But yeah, so anyway, man, we'll be able to have a kayak championship that will get our name out there. Hopefully, help bring some more interest in sponsors, because we are standalone. And when I say sponsors, that's because it helps the anglers. Like we cut up, about the stuff we put on the kayaks or whatever, but we have a lot of the same equipment. We use the same bait and tackle, wear the same clothes. So I mean, we're a smaller demographic, but a lot of companies just don't even really know that we exist on the level that we do. And with Bassmaster, now they see us, and so we're really grateful for Newport Vessels coming back again as our title sponsor. We got Native Watercraft back as our presenting sponsor. We haven't announced two more that are coming very soon, so we're really grateful for that. And so that's my long-winded 2026. And Guillermo, you're welcome to add whatever you want there, my friend.
Well, and before Guillermo jumps in, the Scope is the name of y'all's podcast, but it's a hot button topic. And we know that other tournament trails amongst B.A.S.S have adapted or changed or adjusted. Is there any rules regarding scope for the kayak series, or is there equipment standardization, or tell us a little bit about that from a tournament director standpoint?
Yeah, we don't have the limitations. We have is one forward-facing transducer only per vessel. You are allowed to have the 360 imaging, because it's not technically a live forward-facing sonar. Yeah, that, and then I think we're at the same screen size limits, which essentially is two, no matter.
I was about to say
Yeah,
55
yeah.
inches, Kyle. Man, they're getting some
Yeah.
they're getting some radiation that close to them. But no, I get
Yeah,
what you're saying. Yeah,
pretty much the same. Yeah. So
good. Okay, Guillermo, your turn.
Well, I mean, Steve-O pretty much covered it, but going off of one of the things that he said was one of the things that we're really blessed by is every now and then we get to go to some fisheries that perhaps you may not have heard of on the world stage or the Bassmaster stage, because they're primarily kayak fisheries. And for example, the Susquehanna and the Wolf and Fox rivers, and they are by all means, as far as fisheries are concerned, just as world class of fisheries as some of the big fisheries that y'all get to go with the bass boat trails. Like, I mean, just as Steve-O mentioned with the Susky, I mean, that place will absolutely blow people's minds. If you'd probably crash the internet if you did a if you did a bass live over there, just because of all the top water explosions that you would get. I mean, you could make an entire show off it. I bet, I don't remember exactly how many fish he said were submitted in that tournament, but I can almost guarantee you about 75% of them were caught on top water, which, I mean, smallmouth on top is hard to beat. And then over on the Wolf and Fox, those are it's technically a river system, but those fish, as y'all have experienced, Great Lakes fish are built a little different than they tend to be built everywhere else in the country. And that the Wolf and Fox rivers is the only place, because it goes into the Great Lakes. It's the only place where it's the only river system where I've seen smallmouth built like they are in the Great Lakes, just wide. And so it's truly a special fishery that, and it was one place we went there for the first time just a couple years ago with a Hobie Bass Open series where nobody really knew what to expect. And it absolutely blew people's minds. So that's really all I got. I'm super excited for this season. We really picked a heck of a schedule, and it's going to be a good time.
Steve, I do have one more follow-up about the schedule. Did Glenn Cale or did Hank Weldon or who got the Kissimmee chain first? Because it does seem like every tournament trail other than the Elite Series starts at the Kissimmee chain this year. We've got the high school and juniors just finished up. College is in process as we're recording this. Like you said, you'll have Kayak to start your season, and the Open starts, the week that this podcast drops. And so it's good to see that, because someone in studio was like, we need to pull drone so that we can have some drone shots of the Kissimmee chain for the live event for the Open. And I was like, bro, we hadn't been to the Kissimmee chain in an event that we would cover live with a drone ever. It's been a long time since we've been there. We've had Opens, but it was pre-Bass Live. And so Kissimmee chain's back in the rotation, which is great for the sport of fishing. But yeah, it does seem like we're hitting it heavy early this year.
Yeah, it's actually one. I think Bass had a relationship a long time ago, and I reestablished it last year, and which is something I'm really blessed and excited about. Like, you guys are phenomenal with what you do for all of us, but like with GL Compton, Glenn Cale, Hank Weldon, Chris Bowes, and everyone else in the office, if there's any contact I need, I've actually reestablished several communities now, like specifically 10 Killer, that one took a long time, a lot of leg work. That's what I spend most of my time doing, is trying to find connections for fisheries that we can come to. And thankfully, Bassmaster has followed some of the ones I have found and put those to work too. So it grows the whole shebang. So yeah.
That's awesome. Kyle, you got anything for the boys before we let them go?
I'm all out, but excited to see what you guys do this season with the Scope podcast, and then obviously following along with the Kayak series this year. Always fun to do, and I'd have to imagine by the end of the season we'll have you guys on again, and we'll do a bit of a recap of the season and some of the things that have gone on through the Kayak series. But obviously thanks for joining us today, and something like we said we're all super excited about.
And I'm not going to let
Thank you.
Guillermo off the hook yet, because he came in all fancy rolling his R's, and my name starts with an R, and I can't roll my R's. So, Guillermo, I need you to say Ronnie Moore, host of Bassmaster Live for me, just so I can get the roll off the tongue, okay?
Oh my gosh. So you want me to say it like a Puerto Rican would say it?
If you'd like to, sure.
I mean, I can give it a whirl. I don't even know how a Puerto Rican would even begin to try to say that, but I'll give it a whirl. It'd probably be something along the lines of Ronnie Moore.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, fellas, like we said, if you're tuning into the podcast, you can check out Steve, our tournament director with the Kayak series, and Guillermo, one of the best kayak anglers in the world, on the brand new Bassmaster podcast, The Scope, that is dropping very soon. You should see episodes throughout the year. We're looking forward to the growth that the Kayak series has already experienced and what's in store with good leadership like we have on our screen here. So, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will keep our eyes glued and our ears peeled for the audio versions and video versions of the podcast coming out soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Hey, we appreciate you
my
guys.
pleasure.
Thanks for letting us come on.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks,
Appreciate
fellas.
you taking the time, and we'll me and Kyle will do a little dance and get the thing started from the beginning, and I will send y'all a link when we drop this during the snowpocalypse the next couple days.
Heck yeah.
Perfect.
All right, fellas,
Thank
I'm
y'all.
hitting the water. Thank
See you
y'all.
guys.
Y'all have a
Be
good
safe.
weekend. Be safe.
Bye.
Take it easy, guys.
See y'all.